Welcome to the Rapport Advantage Podcast, transforming the way leaders communicate. Here's your host, Alex Swire-Clark.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. This is the Rapport Advantage Podcast, as Johnny, who's our sound recorder guy, just said. Welcome to the show. This is our first of many to come. We're all focused on making you a better person, making your communication skills a little bit better, making your relationships better. Let's break that down a little bit as we get started, though. Our three overall goals of this podcast are pretty simple. Number one, we're trying to help you maximize you and your organization's potential. Second thing would be we're trying to help you build and develop more effective relationships in the workplace and beyond. And if that becomes a personal thing, we'll get down that road, 20, 30 podcasts from now. But if you guys want to talk about that, we can certainly do that as we move forward. And the third thing is to create connections and communicate more effectively in the organization that you're in, whether that be a church organization, that's a business organization, could be your board game group. It could be anything, any kind of organization. We're trying to help you get those connections and maximize those to make your life as good as it can be. So the bottom line would be, why even listen to our show? Well, if you're thinking about it from a business perspective, we're going to help you do a few different things. But the things we like to focus on most are, if you're in sales, we're going to help you close more sales. Bottom line there. We're going to help you develop a winning culture if you're in that C-suite or if you're in that management kind of role. We're going to help you develop that winning culture. We're going to help you eliminate high turnover. So often in today's business workplace, you've got tons of people that are coming and going. We're going to have that winning culture it's going to invite people to stay and make them feel like that they're a part of something bigger than themselves. And along those same lines, we're going to help you build better teams. We're going to increase your communication. We're going to decrease your miscommunication and avoid that dreaded D word, the drama that no one really likes to have in their organization, because ultimately that leads to something like, that's a bad crash. So anyway, we're going to try to, there's someone laughing. We're going to try to help you eliminate that drama and push your organization to be the best it can be. So who's going to be involved? Well, the main people that are involved are going to be all of you who are out there listening. You're going to be the ones that are going to drive this crazy bus. It's going to get off the tracks a little bit. It's going to fall in the ditch. We're going to pull it back on somehow and avoid those huge collisions that we end up having explosions. We're going to try to avoid those as much as possible. I'm Alex Swire-Clark. I am a certified human behavior expert. We'll get into my bio a little bit later. And alongside me for this podcast and many others is Liz Parker. Hey, Liz, how are you?
I'm good, Alex. I didn't think I was ever going to get a talk. So I am delighted to be able to talk on the podcast and be part of this. So I am Liz Parker, and I am specializing in strategy and job benchmarking, but I am here all about the DISC.
That's right. We are here about getting your personality groove on, increasing your emotional intelligence. We'll also have some special guests from time to time. We'll have folks from other podcasts join us and talk about how they use or don't use DISC in terms of what they do to increase their audience engagement. Because we have a lot of podcasters out there, and trying to increase that audience engagement is a huge plus in terms of trying to monetize your podcast if that's something you're looking to do. So how's our show going to work? Well, it's going to be very interactive. We want your questions. We want your feedback. We want your challenges. We want your triumphs. Because, triumphs are important. You got to have those momentum builders along the way. Anytime that you're in an organization in terms of its infancy, or you've been in business for 30, 40 years. So we're going to be sharing our experiences too. We're going to invite you to share yours through whatever medium you so choose, whether that be Twitter or Facebook, or you can leave us an iTunes review, all those kinds of things. But there will be a focused topic for each show. We've got the first few lined up, and then after that, based upon your comments and your feedback, we're going to steer the show into the direction of the way that you want it to go. Obviously, we want to maximize your time, and your time is very precious, and we appreciate you spending it with us. And we want to provide that value that gives you something to look forward to every time that you hit that little iTunes button for play, or on your Podcast Addict or whatever app that you're using to get your RSS feed across the airwaves.
And we want them to have a good time.
Dang right. This is going to be entertaining. As you can see already from the beginning, we are not going to be stale. That is the absolute Last thing I'm interested in doing, we are not stale at all. Liz and I like to get out there, get involved, and have a good time. If it's not worth doing in a fun way, it's not worth doing, period. So
I agree.
there should be a lot of excitement, and we're going to make that happen as best we can. And so the last question is why? Why are we doing this? The old Simon Sinek, start with the why. So why are we doing this? Well, Liz and I, over the years, we've had prospects and clients who've shared some common struggles, and a lot of those have had roots in miscommunication and lack of understanding of the real differences in people's personalities and their personality styles. There are challenges such as losing top talent. You thought Jim was happy and he had been there for 5 years and everything was going well, and he just all of a sudden left. And why was that? A lot of times that's a struggle between a miscommunication between a manager or a supervisor of some kind, and that could have been negated to some degree with some more development of your emotional intelligence. A failure to consistently close sales. So many times you hear about companies who spend millions and millions and millions of dollars of sales training on how to close, and that's great. We are advocates of closing. You got to have a close to get the yes, to get the win, to get revenue in the door. But if you go back and think about like Brian Tracy or any other sales guru, and their steps of the 7 steps to the sales process, which is what Brian has. His second one is building trust and rapport. Where's the money spent on that? Where's the time spent on training folks and giving people more education in that area? There isn't a lot of that. And that's what this show is going to be about, is in terms of making sure that you are establishing that trust early and tools to be able to do that effectively and consistently. Another thing that people struggle with is disturbingly low team morale. It's just people come into work, they don't want to come to work, and it's just the worst place ever. And so we want to give you some tools and some tips to increase your morale. Make it a better place, make it the best place that people want to come and work, and that whole Glassdoor reviews that are out there, make those sparkling and 4.5 to 5 stars every time. Also, people struggle with dysfunctional or non-productive team meetings. Oh my gosh, we've all been in those. Like,
Definitely.
Today's agenda is about. Oh my gosh, shoot me now. Anyway, so we want to make sure we eliminate those. We want to eliminate the drama and conflict, because a lot of that is increasing as today's society is increasing. We're becoming more tech oriented, and that becomes, more distant in terms of our relationships and how we interact with one another. We become a little more cold, a little more stale. So trying to give you some tips to decrease that drama and conflict. And as you guys know, with that high turnover and that loss of top talent, you have to go back into the coffers and start spending more money and more time on hiring. And Liz and I have some great tips in terms of how to help you hire the right people, how to look for those folks early in the process for a skill set and a personality set that best fits what you're looking for in terms of your ideal candidate. Again, we'll talk about that in a later podcast coming up. But that's something that Liz and I are both huge advocates of. And so, Liz, you've had other clients that you've worked with in the past. I mean, you've worked with BMW, AstraZeneca, and a bunch of other folks. So I know you've seen some struggles and challenges that we're trying to address as well.
Definitely. And, as you kind of look at that whole process, what happens is there are those people out there that want to know, what's the methodology? How do we go about this? How do we make this happen? And, there are a lot of human behavior methodologies that are out there, different models people use in discovering people's personalities. The foundational methodology that we prefer, though, is that DISC model. I have found through the years that it gives you that 80 to 85% of the information that you want on how to work with a person in a much quicker format than some of the other models. We found it is the easiest one to integrate into our daily lives, because not only does this work for our businesses, but man, this works at home. It works with your friends. It works everywhere. So between Alex and I, we actually, we have over 40 years combined experience using the DISC
old.
model.
She's saying we're old. Don't say it, Liz. We're young.
I started as a baby, so it is over 40 years. But I want to give some of the people some background about who we are a little bit. So Alex, if it's okay with you, I'd like to tell them a little bit about you first.
Oh,
okay?
Sure.
Well, listeners, what I want you to know is Alex Swire-Clark is CEO of Solar. That's a medical billing company that serves practices in over 16 different states. And since 1997, Alex has provided dynamic tools for improving communication to audiences nationwide. This guy is a pro. As a certified human behavior expert and speaker, you'll find as you listen that Alex's passion is helping people transform the way they build and grow their relationships.
Oh,
Alex, will you tell about me?
You're so nice, Liz. Thank you. Yes, I'm very passionate about that, and we'll kind of give you some personal information and some stories that where this information we're sharing with you has really touched our lives in a very personal way, and we're talking about marriage kind of saving effects. So we're
Yes.
very, very passionate about it. But yes, Liz Parker is the founder and owner of LT Consultants. For the last 18 years, she's worked with organizations. That's right, 18 years, people. That's a long time. She has worked with organizations in strategic planning and team alignment to positively impact productivity and profitability for the organizations that she's worked with. And she's got countless examples. We're not going to go into those today. But as a certified behavioral and professional analyst through TTI, she's found assessments to be an objective reference point for those conversations where you're trying to, mesh people together, work with teams, and she does a great job with that. She's also a certified Inside Out coach, and she's a Vistage chair here in the upstate of South Carolina working with CEOs. Her clients range from small family business to, the gigantic corporations like BMW, AstraZeneca, and she's got tons of talent. She's actually worked with our organization before in terms of a facilitator role, and her skills in that department are unparalleled. She's great. So glad that she's on.
Thank you,
Alex. You're welcome. So glad to have her on the podcast, and it's going to be a great time. We like to laugh and laugh and cut up a little bit and have some jokes, but we're going to have some good nuggets for you along the way. That's the main thing. We're gonna set up the pins and knock them down, but we're going to do it in a fun way because that's just what we do. And as you'll see when we talk about being a high I, Liz and I are both high I's. You'll discover what that means in our next podcast. What an I is,
and that this is a real laugh, not a laugh track, and they're going to hear it regularly.
That's right. Now we do have some laugh tracks. Well, those are fake, but Liz's laugh is real, so hopefully I'm going to generate a few laughs through there. But that's our introductory podcast, just to kind of tell you a little bit about who we are and what we're going to be all about. If you want to connect with Liz, Liz has a wonderful website. It's ltresults.com. That's ltresults.com.
And if you want to visit Alex, let me just tell him about where to find you.
Oh, sure.
It's at the rapportadvantage.com. The Rapport, RAPPORT, advantage.com. And our Facebook page is the Rapport Advantage.
You can head over there. We're also on Twitter at Rapport Podcast. I'm also on there. Alex Swire-Clark is my Twitter handle.
I'm not on Twitter. It's just too much for me right now.
That's okay. Everyone's got a different place to find folks, but we're both on LinkedIn. Hey,
yes.
So we got that going on. So we'll have some podcast information up on LinkedIn and so forth. But on our next episode, we're going to do a deep dive into the DISC model and talk about why we think it's the best and give you some explanations about this whole DISC and what does that mean and how do we apply it. We're going to discuss a brief history of DISC and why it's important to know and begin building your DISC language, which is very, very exciting. So we're fired up about that, and it will change the way that you view people and the way that you view the world. So that's very exciting. So that's going to do it for us today. I appreciate your time, and hopefully you'll stick with us for episode 2 that'll be coming up where we start to talk about DISC and why it's important. So for Liz Parker, my guest today, just want to say thanks for listening to the Rapport Advantage Podcast, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Rapport Advantage Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Join the conversation on Facebook at the Rapport Advantage and follow us on Twitter at Rapport Podcast.